The text of today contains a dialogue between Jesus and his disciples and ends the long sequence which began with Jesus teaching the crowds from a boat, Mark chapter 4. This is the third of the three incidents at sea in which the disciples seem to be at sea in their attempt to discover who Jesus really is. The first was in Mark chapter 4, when Jesus calms the storm so that the disciples have to ask, "Who then is this?" The second is Mark chapter 6, when Jesus comes walking on the water, and Mark comments that the disciples were utterly astounded, for they had not yet understood about the loaves, for they did not understand about the loaves, but their hearts were hardened. Mark chapter 6. And here in the third incident in this section, they also failed to understand. Mark chapter 8. The disciples think that Jesus is rebuking them because they had forgotten to carry food, when in fact he is rebuking them for their hardness of heart. When Jesus questions the disciples about the feeding miracles, the focus of his questions are not on the number of people who were fed. This would be asked to indicate the magnanimity and the abundance of the miracle. Neither are they on the smallness of their resources, which would indicate the stupendous power of Jesus, but on the breaking and gathering. The disciples know the answers, but are not able to perceive that Jesus is able to provide anything his disciples need. They are taken up with his power, but do not really understand. Like the disciples, we tend sometimes to focus on things that are not really necessary and lose sight of the bigger picture. We can get caught up in details and so not see the whole. We might have a narrow view of the world and so lose sight of the fact that we can find God in all things and all things in God. That we may continue to search God with a sincere heart, let's pray for this grace for one another.